Alright, what is up, gamers? We are back once again, and today I made a build around the worst supers in the entire game. So let's get into it. We'll start with explaining the Arc build. Not the Arc build, the Titan build, my bad. So, what this basically consists of is Fist of Havoc is the worst Titan super by far. It's easily the worst Titan super. So what we're using with this is Eternal Warrior to get an overshield while we're in Fist of Havoc, and we get a huge damage bonus to arc weapons when it ends. So what we're going to be using to make most out of that is Thunderlord and any type of arc secondary that does good damage. I chose Indebted Kindness. Another good one is Forbearance, maybe a loaded question. Any arc secondary. And your first slot doesn't really matter. Looking at the character, we got Spark of Shock and Magnitude with Pulse Grenade to really get some jolt action going in there, as well as Touch of Thunder to even enhance further that Pulse Grenade, so it's going to do huge amounts of damage. Seismic Strike, just because, blind for more of that sort of thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one here. So, we are going to be damage chesting all three of these. Of course, before I roll that clip, don't expect this to do optimal levels of damage, like millions upon millions. Remember, I made a build around the worst super. So, just remember that when you're watching these clips, because there's not a lot better than you can do. Alright, roll that clip. Let's do this. Come on. Shoot, he's focusing on me, though. This could be the one. Come on. Big damage. Alright, we take that. Come on, tell me that was good. That was amazing. Let's go. 1,200,000. And now to the hunters. So, what the worst super is for hunters is Spectral Blades. What can I even say about this super? It's awful. Its contenders were Arcstaff, but Arcstaff is actually made pretty decent with Raid Influx, and you can build into this one a little more. Plus, that guard feature can be useful. 6-shot Golden Gun is also not great, but it can do some decent target damage and works with Celestial Nighthawk, but it's not as good as Golden Gun Marksman with Celestial Nighthawk. Still, though, it works. But Spectral Blades, the problems with this super is not only does it not really have an exotic that boosts it very much, Golden Gun 6-shot or Arcstaff do, because Arcstaff has Raid Influx, and then you can use Celestial Nighthawk with Golden Gun Deadshot. It's just not as much damage. Still, though, makes it a lot better. Well, Spectral Blades does have its own exotic, but it's based on kills for more super energy, so it makes this into an ad kill super. We're trying to get damage out of this thing. So, of course, what are you going to use with that? Star Eater scales. And I decided to go with Deterministic Chaos. Now, I know what you guys are all going to say. What are you doing? Deterministic Chaos is garbage. But look at how you're going to use this. So, what I kind of tried to build into is lots of invisibility. We got Stylish Executioner and Vanishing Step, as well as Echo of Persistence to increase invisibility duration, and Echo of Obscurity for finishers to grant it. So defeating anything with a debuff will grant invisibility, dodging grants an invisibility, and finishers grant an invisibility. So massive synergy there, as well as suppressor grenade will activate Echo of Domineering for some extra boosts to like mobility, and your weapon is reloaded, so that could be used during a damage phase. And we use Marksman's Dodge, which will both give you invisibility and reload your weapon. So you have multiple ways to reload your weapon as well. This one was one I was actually able to build into a bit more because Hunter Void is actually pretty good. So I was a little happy about that. So this is a better one, but as I was saying with how you use this build, it's majorly built into invisibility. So why would you use a build around Spectral Blades? Well, Spectral Blades is supposed to be like a stealth super. So what this is basically meant to be is a safe build so that you won't die during damage because you'll be constantly invisible, so you won't be seen. That's the premise that I was going for here. So using something like Tractor Cannon to extend the debuffs that it gives would not be the right thing, because Tractor Cannon is a high risk, high reward sort of weapon because you gotta get so close to the boss. But Deterministic Chaos provides weaken and volatile when you shoot things with it. So it can extend debuffs while being at a safe distance. That's exactly what this build is meant to be. So I finally found a use of Deterministic Chaos. I thought that was funny. So yeah. Now let's roll the clip of that damage. All right. Okay. Okay. Come on. We got this. This is good. This is looking really, really good. Okay. Okay. I think that was good. I think that was good.
How much damage did I do?
You probably did a lot with your crazy build. Okay. I'll take 616, honestly, for this build. And finally, we have our Warlock build. So, for our super, we're using Nova Warp. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Why wouldn't you use Storm Trance? Storm Trance is so much worse. Storm Trance is known for being a garbage super. But the reason I think Nova Warp is worse is, let's think about this. Storm Trance has two edges over Nova Warp. First one, Storm Trance is on Prismatic, meaning that it has all the synergy from Prismatic, including Transcendence, all these different aspects, so you can build into it much more when it has both access to Prismatic and its actual Arc subclass, which Nova Warp does not have the benefit of. Also, Storm Trance has two different exotics that help make it actually usable. That first one being Crown of Tempests, where you can extend the duration of Storm Trance with your arc ability kills and stuff like that. Another one that benefits it, the second one, is Storm Dancer's Brace, which each target you defeat increases the damage you deal and refunds super energy. So that one's actually a really solid one. You can really build into its Adker with this. So yeah, it has much building potential, although it's a terrible super on its own. Nova Warp, on the other hand, although it does provide a debuff in Volatile, it's really weak in the sense that not only does its one exotic that benefits it barely benefit it at all, but also it has no access to Prismatic, and it's the build potential that would go with a super like this really isn't there. So let's look at what I'm using with it. Astrocyte Verse does boost it in the way of Dark Blink does not cost super energy, so the little dash move, but that's it for the boosts of Nova Warp itself. But what we're gonna be using with this, what we're gonna be using with this is Blink. what Astrocyte Verse really builds into is blink. So you blink further and more frequently, and when you blink, you become targets around you become volatile. What this build is meant to be is a lot of volatile stuff. Weapon readies quickly out of blink, and radar remains up. That doesn't matter very much. It also provides airborne effectiveness, but that's not the big thing. The two big things is Nova Warp with its Dark Blink, and then the volatility from Blink. So, yeah, that's what we're building into. Although no weapon is really required here to really maximize it, what I really wanted to use with this was Telesto. Telesto just has a lot of Void synergy, and it's really, really fun. Plus, it actually has some decent secondary boss damage. Another one that's good to use is use any good Void heavy weapon. Honestly, it could be pretty much anything. I used one of my personal favorites being Royal Entry. I got Impulse Amp, Autoloading, and Cluster Bomb on this thing. You can really combo with this thing. It's one of my absolute favorites. So, yeah, of course, again, primary doesn't really matter. I just put on a Fatebringer. So, what I'm kind of using to maximize the build here is Vortex Grenade to deal a little damage over time while you're in Nova Warp, as well as Echo of Undermining to weaken, so that your super could actually do more damage with that weaken effect. And everything else isn't really necessary. I mean, Chaos Accelerant is one I really like to use because I could overcharge my Vortex Grenade, throw it. That Vortex Grenade is going to weaken and deal damage over time while I'm in, and then I'll cast Nova Warp and deal damage while it's still being weakened by Vortex. I thought that was a really solid one. Another one that isn't required but is solid is having something for volatile rounds. I used Echo's Instability because my grenades are supposed to be really powerful, so I can build more into that with that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this build. I'll show you guys the damage. Again, remember, it's not supposed to be insane. Alright, roll the clip. Come on. Let's go. Shoot. Oh, no. Rift. Bang. See how much I can get out of one damage phase. Alright. How much was that? Okay. Last word meta. Well, alright, that was solid.